Life is a mysterious thing. Each and every life spins its own, a totally separate tale, yet they become intricately entwined in each other, and no one knows how they will end up. Humans have always been fascinated with the idea of the afterlife. What's to come after death, whether it's an empty void of nothingness or perhaps heaven or hell. Well, what if it was real? Welcome to Decim. We are introduced to a couple, Tadashi and Machiko, through two different elevators, both with no recollection of how they arrived there. They walk cautiously through the hallway into a bar and are introduced to the bartender Decim. They're told little of their current circumstances and why they have lost their memories. The couple, obviously confused, asks Decim of where they are. He replies vaguely of their current circumstances, disclosing that he cannot answer where they are and that they will have to play a game. One where they will be chosen by a roulette where they must stake their lives upon, stating that only until the game is over, they can leave the bar. Satoshi, the husband, taken aback and offended by the absurdity of Decim, persuades his wife to leave to look for exits. The couple tries the elevator first, but it's unresponsive. They walk around aimlessly, checking door to door to find an exit. Becoming increasingly frustrated, Satoshi angrily demands Decim of the exit. Decim only reiterates that they cannot leave the bar until after they play the game. Clearly annoyed of his antics, the husband argues to not play the game. Decim informs him that this would be unrecommended. Suddenly, a mist of smoke appears, and the walls begin to open up, revealing hanging bodies within the shadows that startle the couple. Decim presents them with a button to initiate the game. The couple reluctantly agree, seeing reasoning is not a case here, and decide to go along with it. When the button is pressed, the roulette randomly selects a tile that reads darts as the game chosen. Moments after, a massive explosion triggers and the room begins to restructure with a large pillar in the middle of the room with numbers 501, 501 at the top. Decim explains the rules of the game, where each person will throw darts in front of you one at a time until one is down to zero, and if one runs out of darts to throw, the person with the lowest score will win by default. Seems all fine so far, but here's the kicker. The targets are linked to each one of their nerves, and the highest the pointage, the greater the pain. Both are visibly distraught and unsettled by this, but Satoshi comforts Machiko that it cannot be possible. Boy, would he be wrong. Satoshi takes the first dart and aims towards the board, doubtful of the ludicrous statements Decim has made. The dart lands on the number 6, a low number. Much to his surprise, Machiko cries from the pain felt from the dart. Satoshi inspects of her wounds and Machiko plays it off, thinking that it must all be in her head, like a placebo effect. Both are starting to become more and more on the edge. Now it is time for Machiko to throw the dart. She makes great work of her interesting form and hits number 18. The sharp surreal pain causes Satoshi to hunch over in great pain. Now his suspicions are confirmed. The pain is very much real, but can't put together how he's feeling this. Furious of the sick game he's forced to endure, Satoshi sprints towards Decim and demands him to answer his burning questions. He informs Decim of his background as a doctor. Having no signs of surgery, he's in disbelief. Decim only coldly responds with pure Black Air Force energy that this is a game with your lives at stake. Decim then presents him with a quick fix solution, stating that the rules did not disclose anything about missing the targets, and if they both wished to avoid the pain, they could just miss the dartboard. However, if this was to go on, Machiko would be presented as the victor due to the number of being closer to zero. Satoshi is both relieved and skeptical of what's to come and left with a moral dilemma. He's figured out a way on how to avoid the pain from the darts, but is afraid of the prospect of losing and potentially putting his life at stake. Satoshi then goes on to tell Machiko of how to progress the game without getting hurt, but realizes she will be the victor. Satoshi comforts her, saying there's nothing to worry about. The couple go on to play it off, missing the dartboard one by one. Satoshi is relieved of the strategy working, telling himself it's merely a game and it doesn't matter who wins and loses. He glances over to Machiko, glad that he still has her. However, he suddenly envisions of a creepy fate, seeing himself with the hanging corpses displayed earlier. He freezes in thought of this, making his body tremble and hands shake. He goes to grab another dart, but this time he takes a longer look at the dart in front of him. He makes a decision. All of a sudden, he begins to put on a more serious tone and calmly throws the dart, hitting a target. Satoshi plays it off, claiming that his hand slipped. It is now Michiko's turn to throw the dart. She focuses but accidentally trips and hits a double 4 on the dartboard. The number linked to Satoshi's eyes. Understandably, he writhes in intense pain. He trips over various chairs and tables and rolls around unstoppably. Satoshi recovers soon after and holds his last dart with a menacing glare. Michiko begs of him not to throw it, especially not in the stomach. She tells him of her pregnancy and states that she was going to surprise him on their vacation. Satoshi is surprised but ecstatic of this news, proud that he will finally become a father. When Satoshi goes to throw his very last dart mid-flight, he remembers a past memory. The dart also conveniently lands on the number linked with the wife's stomach. Not only that, but it's a double whammy. Michiko screams in unbearable pain and accuses him of doing it on purpose. Satoshi shrugs her off, stating that he has forgotten something so important. He reminisces of a previous memory, one right before his wedding ceremony. He eavesdrops on Michiko's friends talking about Machi, presumably a nickname of her cheating scandal and gold-digging pursuits. Satoshi coldly informs that he has always known all this time. Despite this, he couldn't bring himself to stop the wedding that day. Michiko repeatedly says that he's got it all wrong, but Satoshi doesn't listen. He turns around and asks Decim another question. He takes his wife's last dart and asks whether or not he can use it to score on her own board. Decim responds that as long as it's within the rules, it's fair play. Just before he's about to throw the dart, Michiko stops him and tells him off another story. A person named Machida Yuki, her high school friend at her wedding that day, about how she had married a doctor several years ago but couldn't break it off with an old boyfriend. Satoshi, realizing of his unruly behavior, desperately apologizes to Michiko, but accidentally stabs her in the process. Michiko, having enough of all of this, grabs hold of the dart and makes a throw towards the dartboard, being grabbed by Satoshi just before throwing. Before the dart hits the board, we are showed a vivid, heartwarming recollection of their relationship, to how they first met, the joy and comfort they shared with each other, that feeling of love and embrace all up to their wedding day, and cut suddenly to one where they have an accident on the road and tumble down a cliff. The dart lands on the bullseye, linked with Satoshi's heart. He profusely spits out blood and falls to the ground. Decim congratulates Michiko of her win. Michiko, remembering of what had happened earlier, asks whether they're dead. Decim confirms this, stating that both of them have passed on in the real world, and he's actually an arbiter to decide whether a person deserves to go to heaven or hell. Satoshi's realization jogs back his memory. He collapses to the ground, angry at himself for killing his own child. He hopelessly begs of Decim to bring him back to life, but it's to no avail. Satoshi begins to lose his mental stability, commenting again of Michiko to drop the act, this time firmly believing that it was never his child to begin with. He cries relentlessly with enough tears to actually cry a river. Much to his surprise, Michiko reveals sadistically that there was indeed someone else she loved. She lays it all bare and tells him that, of course, it wasn't his baby, nor did she love him. It was all part of a money-grabbing scheme and that he was a fool to fall for it. Satoshi, fueled with pure rage, sprints to make a jump on Michiko, but is stopped by Decim with his puppet strength, immobilizing him mid-sprint and forces him unconscious. He states that the game is over, and the ruling is final. It has been an emotional roller coaster, and both have sacrificed a part of their morality. Decim places both within different elevators and bids them farewell, with the last scene showing that of two different faces above each elevator. One that is a no mask, representing heaven, where Satoshi will go, and the other being a Hanya mask, representing hell, for the manipulation and lies Michiko has fabricated.